Long ago, in the lands of the Ambundu people of Angola, there roamed a monstrous creature so terrifying, so brutal, so evil that even telling its story is an abomination. This ogre was called the Kishi, and it had not one, but two heads. One head was that of the most charming, most handsome young man who ever lived.
Oh.
And the other head was that of a towering hyena whose massive jaws could crush skulls with one bite. With this dual face, the Kishi and his army of ogres unleashed terror upon villages such as Luanda. Where did this monster come from? And why did it hold such a huge vendetta against one village in particular? Is there a way to protect yourself from its evils? There's no other way to answer these and other questions other than watching this, today's episode of Timbuktu Tales.
No one remembers the exact command the man broke. No one truly can, since he did it such a long time ago, back when the world was still a child. It is said that those many, many ages ago, when the world was still young and fresh as a newborn, this man dared to defy the commands of the ancestral spirits, the guardians of order and tradition who watched over the land and its people. The man was the most handsome youth in his village, some say the most good-looking man ever. He was tall, quick-tongued, eyes like polished black rocks inside a bowl of fresh milk. He had broad shoulders and lean, yet muscular arms that made him the subject of many girls' fantasies. He had the most charming smile, and it is said that both unmarried and married women fainted out of joy at the sight of his glowing teeth. Girls braided flowers into their hair to up their appearance, just for a glance from him. Other boys wanted to hang around him, maybe to get some of his charm. Elders forgave his boasts because his smile promised greatness. All this attention, some say, got into the young man's head. It is said that he believed that he could do no wrong, and even if wrong, nothing was unforgivable. He began as a mere trickster in the bustling market, convincing traders that a rival had undersold them, causing petty quarrels that were quickly soothed by his infectious laughter and smiles. His mischief grew bolder over time, to the point where he one day manipulated the chief, tricking him into commanding his army into the forest to fight a non-existent enemy. A heavily punishable crime. Had it been done by any other, the chief dismissed him with a mere stern warning, disarmed by his eloquent apologies, after his favorite daughter pleaded the young man's case. And so, for many years, he made transgressions against many people, and the sins were forgiven and quickly forgotten, thanks to his charms. Yet the gods are not to be played with, neither are they charmed by the smiles of people. One dawn, the young man slipped past the sacred shrine, a circle of ancient roots of the holy fig tree and cowrie shells, and did what the spirits forbade. Some say, in his pride, he drank the forbidden honey wine. Others say, in his mischievous ways, he replaced the white chalk of purity with cassava flour, confusing priests when they came to offer prayers. Yet others whisper that in his irresistible, charming ways, he lay with the priestess, who always hid her face beneath the ancestor mask, seeing that which was forbidden. But no one knows for sure which crime it was. It was such a long time ago, and even the eldest of elders had not been born, back when the world was just a mere child. All that is known is that the defiance was so terrible that he had to be severely punished for it, Whatever the sin was, the old stories say, it was enough to bring the wrath of the gods. On the day he committed the offense, the air thickened with thunder, though the sky stayed clear. It was as if the world itself was crying. No cloud was visible, yet the sky darkened and ushered in eerie sounds. The ground started to rumble and shake, as if an earthquake was approaching from the ocean far away. The domestic animals, be it cows or goats, chickens or ducks, all animals cried out in endless shrieks that sent fear down the spines of all who heard them. Their cries were picked up by creatures of the wild, monkeys and baboons, lions and elephants, all manners of birds. All of them cried out in great agony, with others producing sounds that had never been heard before. Sounds of unspeakable terror. The people wailed out in great pain, as some forcefully blocked their ears, but there was no escaping the wailing of the earth. However strong one pressed their palms against their ears, their hearts throbbed, and people sweated, struggling to breathe, even when seated, not doing anything that would create such struggles in their bodies. Mothers covered their children's eyes, as if they might see something so fearsome, so dangerous, so sacred, that no mortal eyes could glance at them and remain sane. The village of Luanda was in a state of panic. The chief, his soldiers, and his advisors rushed to the village medium's house in great haste. All were in a great panic, seeking answers to this doom that was facing the people. The spirit spoke through the village medium. A great evil has risen. Her eyes were fully yellow in a trance-like state, as she stared deep into the sky while holding her staff, a piece of mangled root. The medium's gown and long dreadlocked hair, filled with rows and rows of cowrie shells, danced in the wind that swept the village as soon as she gave out her command. "Banish him before his shadow poisons the harvest." While she spoke these words, just as a whisper, her voice thundered throughout the village and beyond. The chief and his advisors were thrown to the ground as the wind, which came out of nowhere, moved at great speeds to all corners of the village. It uprooted trees and leveled barns. Goats not tethered to the ground were thrown far into the air and disappeared into the far horizon, followed by endless chickens, which had suddenly and forcefully learned how to fly. "Who is it that we must banish, O great messenger of the gods?" The medium pointed her staff straight ahead, pointing into the violent red storm clouds that were gathering in front of the village, as if preparing to enter, or opening a portal to a vicious world in the great beyond. Out of the red darkness of that cloud, pulled at great speed by an invincible force, the charming young man floated into their midst. His eyes ran wild, trying to register what had just happened. "This one," the medium said, "this one must be sent away for his defiance of the gods." After saying the last words, the medium took out a pot filled with green-looking water. She then picked pieces of lemongrass from the hedges around her small brick house and dipped the pile into the pot. She sprinkled water from side to side, using the pieces of lemongrass, swiftly, while humming strange words. The medium sprinkled the water on the man. He screamed with each droplet, as if they were bits of charcoal that scalded his skin. The young man rolled on the ground, burning with an invisible fire, as the medium poured more water on him. He wailed terribly. The entire village rushed to the scene, but watched from a safe distance, lest they also directly face the wrath of the gods. The medium did not relent. She ignored the young man's cries for her to stop and continued with her activities. "Why don't I just take his head?" one of the soldiers declared as he unsheathed his sword. "Dare not defile the land with the blood of the cursed," the medium commanded, before the warrior could take any other step. Her voice was like a shield that pushed him backwards. The soldier put back his sword in its scabbard and stepped back. The medium, her body shrunk by age and trials, floated into the air. The people gasped and raised their eyes. She rained more torrents of water on the man. The man cried so terribly that his mother rushed to his side, holding him close. The mother only got wet and felt nothing else. But the young man, pierced by invisible arrows, cried with every drop of water. She tried to massage his skin, perhaps to calm him down, but all was in vain. She begged the medium to stop, pleading for her son. But the medium, suspended high up, heard none of her cries. She rained on the waters and declared, "May this be a lesson to all that witness." As the waters touched a nearby bush, a rat jumped out squeaking and ran away. The medium poured more water in its direction as it pierced through the crowd, jumped into a hole next to an anthill, and disappeared. "All that disobey the gods must be banished away from these lands," the medium said, as she softly descended back to the ground. The chief did not wait for a word more. He sternly looked at the soldier on his right, who immediately acted. The commander of the chief's army grabbed the young man who was now crouched in a fetal position on his mother's lap and cried more tears than he had in all his years. His mother tried to stop them, begging for mercy, but they roughly pulled them apart and took him away. The chief, with his soldiers and advisors, drove the young man from the village at spear point. His mother wept bitterly, but no one dared calm her. His brothers turned away, lest they be associated with his transgressions. Even the girls, who loved him with a love that was more than love, hid in their tiny corners, whimpering. None wanted to see him sent away. All wanted to hug him tightly and keep him in their village. But no one would dare defy the words of the medium, who spoke in the tongue of the gods. "Off you go," the chief commanded, as they reached the edge of Luanda. At the place where the village boundaries were marked by a giant river, they forced him into a canoe and paddled him across, surrounded by burly soldiers. "Let us never see your face in Luanda again," the commander of the chief's army spoke as they approached the opposite shore. "If we see you, your head shall be mine." They pushed him off the boat and into the deep forest. "Swift is the wrath of my sword, boy. Don't test me." The commander barked as they dropped him on the opposite shore and left him to face his lonesome journey. The young man walked for a great distance, each time glancing back at the village that he left behind, growing smaller and smaller. The deeper he went into the forest, the more the foliage grew around him, till he could see nothing but trees behind him. He yearned for the warmth of his family and for the attention of the villagers, but that was all gone now. He wished he could go back and enjoy the food of his people and the company of his friends, but he knew that would mean instant death. So he walked on. He did not know where exactly he was going, but he had to keep walking, hoping to stumble upon another village which might embrace him. He survived on wild fruits and berries throughout the journey. At night, he found spots within the massive protruding roots of giant trees around him and slept. Sometimes he would light small fires to keep himself warm, keeping alert all through lest he invited leopards. The soles of his feet, pierced by thorns and blistered by itchy leaves, hurt painfully, but he walked on. After 50 days of walking in the forest, he finally came to the edge. The greenery of the forest was swallowed by an increasingly browning and dry terrain. The sounds of birds and insects quickly disappeared as the new environment grew more silent the further he walked. The large trees transformed into small bushes. The small bushes eventually disappeared altogether, and all that remained was brown sand and red, sharp stones. Strong winds blew the dust in his direction, spearing his skin 1 billion times. Yet the young man walked on. He walked on into dirt paths which led to places he knew nothing of. As the dust of the path swallowed his footprints, he swore an oath that echoed off the hills around him. "You cast me from warmth and kin. I will take both from you and from every child you bear." Racked by loneliness and growing bitterness, he swore vengeance. "To those who cast me out," he vowed, "I will return with power, and my revenge will be swift and terrible." He wandered into the forsaken lands, a sun-bleached desert where even vultures circled with caution. The winds were harsh in these lands, hot and dry during the day and extremely chilling at night. Months passed. His once smooth skin that was as dark as ebony now turned grey and scaly as dehydration got the better of him. His milk-white teeth, once the pride of Luanda, turned yellow and frothy. His eyes became red as veins of pain and the struggle of a lonesome journey in the forsaken lands took a toll on him. Like the cowhide on a drum warmed around a fire, his skin grew tight around bones. The muscles he once flexed with great pride had quickly dissipated, melted away, and bones threatened to burst out of his scaly skin. The further he walked, the more his clothes dangled on his wire frame. There was barely anything to eat, and it would have been more sensible to go back to the forest. But an invincible force seemed to press against his back, pushing him further into the drylands. He was dying a slow, painful death far away from his family. The thought of revenge on the village for pushing him away, despite his own mistakes, kept his heart pumping. "I must survive and get my revenge," he declared in a weak whisper. The young man struggled to find food and water, only surviving by drinking the bitter sap of the thorny sisals that were scattered around the landscape. Other times, when he was lucky enough to catch some small birds, he would prepare a small roasted meal and survive for another day. This went on for months, and the young man was almost giving up on life, wanting to get out of the pathetic existence. But what he did not know, he was being watched by numerous, invisible eyes. The banished man had found himself in the haunted lands. He was in the land of the tortured souls. These forsaken lands were the home of the evil spirits who moved endlessly in the dry expanse, swallowing every last inch of goodness from the earth. Ever hungry and ever thirsty, the evil spirits were in search of people to fill their stomachs and quench their thirst. Yet, the invisible barrier at the edge of the forest into the human lands prevented them from getting their hands on what they truly wanted. In these evil lands, the man wandered into, he was hoarded by billions of the eyes of these evil spirits. Night after night, they found him wherever he had wandered to, and whispered more things into his ears. As he twisted himself at night and slept in dark, cold caves, they brought him dreams of grandiose and power unmatched. They planted into his mind plenty of seeds, seeds of power unheard of. They whispered of power enough to help him take revenge on all who harmed him. The evil spirits of that place found him easy prey. Loneliness is sweet marrow. A desire for revenge is an even greater breeding ground. And each night, his desire for this power that the spirits promised grew greater and greater. Eventually, the evil spirits won him over. One fateful night, the great Hyena spirit, ancient and carrion clever, slid into the back of his skull. There, this ancient hyena, a great evil force, whispered dark promises to him. It told the young man that it would grant him strength to take back all he had lost. With the skin of a human, the evil spirit could cross the invisible barrier into the land of humans. Our interests are shared, my boy. The hyena spirit spoke in a voice unlike anything the man had ever heard. One part cunning, the other part threatening. He nodded in agreement and, instantly, the spirit of the hyena went to work. Bone cracked, flesh stretched. The young man screamed in great agony as pieces of his skull shattered and his flesh split apart. He cried out in such pain that if someone could have been nearby and heard it, they would die instantly out of shock. The pain was so astonishing that it sent the young man into deep sleep, hanging in the small gap between life and death. When he finally woke up, he had no sense of time whatsoever. He did not know whether it had taken a day or a year, or was it a split second? His pain was all gone. Everything that had happened was all a haze. At the back of his head, where before there had been nothing but a mane of hair, he had grown the head of a hyena. When he arose, the second head glared from behind his own, muzzled, yellow-eyed, hungry. Yet, at the same time, the hyena spirit had restored the young man back to his old self. The blisters that had been on his body were gone at once, and his skin, turned from grey to jet black again, recovered to the smoothness that it once had. His teeth, on the human side, regained their whiteness, as did the whites of his eyes. He once again had that smile which could charm anyone he looked at. "May you not eat the flesh that flows with blood, or your beauty shall disappear," the hyena head declared. The human head nodded as it accepted the booming instructions of the hyena spirit. "Only cooked meat, that is what we shall eat, if your beauty and charm is to remain." "Yes, only cooked meat," the human head responded. "From now on," the hyena head declared, "may your old name be forgotten. We shall be known as Kishi." As the last of these words were spoken by the hyena head, the young man's whole body suddenly surged with great strength. He felt as if he could lift a whole elephant with a single hand. He walked out of the cave and onto a rock overlooking the vast, rugged terrain of the Forsaken Lands. The moon shone brightly. Countless stars light up the black canvas across the skies. The Kishi stood at the edge of the rock and stared deep into the horizon using his human head. For a moment, time froze as he looked far into the distance. His gaze leaped across the sands, pierced through the forests, and lingered on the human worlds. A fierce longing for the people of Luanda, the friends and family whom he had been chased from. An owl fluttered above him as it rushed on its evening hunt. Suddenly, the human head twisted around, and now that which was facing the great distance ahead was the hyena head. Its eyes shone brightly, and its long, sharp teeth dripped with saliva. The hyena head, its features defined by a haunting grin, faced forward and declared, "Let's go. Let us take back what they stole from us." Thus began the age of the Kishi, with the head of a handsome man and that of a vicious hyena. And so it was that the young man's name became forgotten. It is why, even today, no one knows what his real name was. He was the first ogre. And so, people called the Kishi the father of all ogres, because soon after his emergence, many more arose. The spirit of the hyena gave him power unimaginable, enabling him to command both the wild hyenas and the shunned humans alike. By day, with his skin back to its youthful, radiant form and long hairs grown magically to hide the beast head, he walked among men. He sought the outcasts, the runaways, the bitter and the lost. Here, he found a man who had been kicked out of his village for theft, and there, he found a woman excommunicated on accusations of being an evil witch. Other times, he found cripples and those with physical deformities seated at the edge of villages with no one showing them love. All these, and many other people who sought a community, he whispered into their ears. His human voice wove loyalty like rope amongst them, and they instantly followed him. By night, his head twisted around, and while his body and skin remained that of a beautiful young man, the head that spoke was that of a malicious hyena. It spoke to hyena packs in their own laughing tongue and bound them with promises of red feasts. The Kishi promised the hyenas great feasts, unlike any they had seen before. The hyenas needed no more convincing beyond the promise of human flesh, which is what they desire more than any other. "I know them best, and will get you their flesh to enjoy," said the Kishi, as its head twisted and the human form faced forward. The hyenas laughed in great joy at the thought of all the meat they would feast on from the human villages, whose defenses they had been unable to penetrate any other time before. Thus, these hyenas also became the Kishi's loyal followers. Under the shadow of his two-headed curse, the Kishi gathered these followers, hyenas who prowled the night and outcasts from human villages, all united by his dark charm. The more time both the humans and the hyenas spent under the spell of the Kishi, the more they transformed. The hyenas took more human forms, starting to walk a bit upright, while their tails elongated. They became something unseen in the world, neither fully human nor fully hyena. The same thing happened with the humans, who took a more animalistic form and grew monstrous body parts, unlike any seen before. One after the other, they became ogres, taking all kinds of nightmarish shapes. And so, the Kishi built his army of ogres. Together, they built a hidden village within a cave, deep inside a haunted forest, far from the warm glow of human settlements. Its mouth, curtained by a large and tall waterfall, the cave of the ogres was hidden from any prying eyes. Within it, they set up a massive camp where both the humans and the hyenas stayed, all under the leadership of the two-headed monster. The Kishi also built a smaller hut a short distance from the main cave. Here, he hid his most treasured possessions, the bones of his victims, whose continued presence gave him more and more power. There, he also kept a small pot for cooking meat, as he did not dare eat any raw meat. None of his followers knew this secret, which gave him the ability to maintain the good looks that allowed him to seamlessly blend into and attack human villages. From their abode in the haunted forest, the Kishi and his followers hunted. Sometimes they hunted animals, such as antelopes, and even struck larger ones like buffaloes, whose flesh they feasted on. Just like the hyenas, the humans who followed the Kishi ate the meat raw. They dug their teeth deep into the flesh, and the more they ate, the more they transformed into ogres. Some grew extra limbs, others got more eyes. Others grew larger and scarier teeth, while others lost one eye and the remaining one came to the center of their face, like a large, brilliant lamp. Others grew tongues so long they could come out and fold back like those of a chameleon. Their skins, just like that of a young man wandering the forsaken lands, grew rough and scaly. They started growing hair all over their deformed bodies. And thus, the Kishi's reign of terror began. From time to time, the Kishi would ask his followers to wait for or follow him, depending on his whims, as he went off to bring them food. He would go to a village and sure enough, he would come back with a young woman who the ogres would instantly feast on. His taste ran to maidens, their fear a spice to his evil ways. He usually took one at a time, but whenever the opportunity presented itself, he did not mind grabbing more. In one place, a town surrounded by high clay walls, he waited patiently and spent days studying the daily routine of the townsfolk. Satisfied, he sneaked up on a group of 5 girls as they fetched water in the river at the edge of the city walls. Stepping out from the reeds with a broad smile, his voice wrapped them around his fingers, and before the remaining 3 could realize what happened, the Kishi had disappeared back into the reeds with 2 of their friends. The second village knew only the chaos of a moonless night, shattered by the bellows of their ravaged cattle. While the Kishi's followers created a bloody diversion, tearing cows from their sheds in a frenzy of gore and noise, he himself moved with a more sinister purpose. He smashed through the chief's hut. In the midst of the turmoil, he located the chief's daughter, a symbol of the community's pride, and clamped a hand over her mouth, stifling her cry. He vanished back into the shadows with his prized captive. In another place, the Kishi's reign of terror unfolded in the sun-dappled peace of the forest. 3 young girls were filling their baskets with wild berries, their laughter echoing between the trees. The Kishi, a shadow moving against the light and as swift as the wind itself, used the woodland's cover to his motion. With a sudden brutal rush, he ran past them while shouting, "Run, girls! Run! There is a leopard coming!" The girls, astonished and in great panic, scampered after him deeper into the forest, not knowing where the path led to. There was no time for more than a gasp before he had them, their pleas muffled against his coarse hide as he gathered them up. The forest floor was left scattered with spilled berries like drops of blood, a final, sad memory of the innocent lives he carried off to his hiding place. At times, the Kishi and his ogres struck at dusk and vanished before dawn. Other times they showed up in the middle of the day, and on other occasions, early in the morning, just as the cows were going off to graze. There was no predicting where and when the Kishi would strike next. The Kishi moved from one village to another, creating such anarchy that all people were left traumatized by his presence. Wherever the Kishi struck, it vanished just as quickly, leaving only footprints that ended in scrub too thorny for warriors. None of the girls he grabbed managed to come back, and no one ever knew where they went or who took them. Families cried endlessly for their lost daughters with no end in sight. Villagers learned to count their daughters twice at sunset. Yet, the Kishi always managed to grab one more. Luanda was next in line in his reign of terror. Long had he awaited this day. He stood at the edge of his target, on top of a hill overlooking the village of Luanda, his human head facing forward. He stared deep into the village, where the people were bustling in preparation to celebrate their latest harvest. A sudden wave of sadness hit him. He stared at the people of the village, none of whom appeared familiar to him. He had been gone such a long time. He came to the instant realization that people of his own generation, his friends and siblings, were long gone. His parents were no more. Oh, my beloved mother! A tear dropped from his human face. He thought of all the girls whom he had loved and had loved him, whose faces he could not place in any of the villagers who rushed around in preparation for the great feast. Such a long time had passed. Yet, the Kishin's human face and body had not aged a day. He looked just as youthful as the day he was kicked away. The world had moved on and forgotten him. But he had not forgotten the people of Luanda and how they banished him. His expression changed to an angry one and declared, "Finally! Finally I get my sweet revenge." Then he let out a bone-chilling laughter that, had you heard it, it would drive you crazy. As soon as the last of these words left his human mouth, his head twisted around, and the hyena head came forth. His followers gathered around him, repulsive beings with mangled faces, distorted limbs, and menacing grins. From their vantage point atop the hill, they looked down on the village, where fires were being set to roast meats and warm large drums, as the people of Luanda prepared for the biggest party of the year.
Thanks for watching today's episode of Timbuktu Tales. Like, share and subscribe to watch more of such amazing tales from Africa. And hey, don't forget to hit that notification bell to always get updates on new episodes every week. Are there any stories you would like us to work on? Feel free to share your ideas in the comments section below.